Thanks for coming, everybody. I'm Terry Lee Bulger. I am the publisher for the Acorn Press, and I am super excited to be working with you here with you all tonight to launch the this new book, The Keto Solution, by Angela Doucette and friends. So Angela's here tonight with some special guests to talk about this wonderful project. For those of you who don't know, Angela and I go way back to, I don't know, I guess I would have been grade 7, maybe even longer than that because we went to church together. And
way back.
Yeah, I think my sister did catechism classes with your sister.
Oh.
Or with your mom, I guess. Anyway, so it's a long time. And out of the blue, Angela wrote to me and asked me if I ever did cookbooks and if I thought there would be an interest in the Keto Solution. And she started to tell me about her project where she's got this online following talking about starting from her experiences with, going keto and sort of changing her lifestyle in order to do that and the impact that had on her life. And this is something that is sort of near and dear to our family, the whole, the keto diet, because my brother-in-law is epileptic and he had to totally do the same thing that Angela did, sort of change his whole diet. The doctors basically told him that they wouldn't work with him unless he changed over to keto lifestyle, and how important that was in order for him to start feeling healthier with his epilepsy. And so I did a lot of research into that at the time because of that, like the impact of that on my own family. And I was fascinated by it and how this diet, I started to learn, has changed a lot of people's lives. And so Angela writing to me was very timely because I'd already been doing sort of my own research on that. Although I'm vegetarian, I'll probably never be keto. But I do think it certainly has a ton of benefits for many, many people. And I'm so excited that Angela, that you and your friends and colleagues were able to pull together this book. We had Angela and I had this already meeting of minds on this idea because I've looked through a lot of the cookbook sections at the bookstore for keto books, and there are a lot of keto cookbooks, but they're not this kind of cookbook. They're big, expensive. It's hard to find one for less than $50, and they're big tomes that take up a lot of space on the shelf, and frankly, a lot of the ingredients are not easily available. Whereas Angela wanted this book, and I really agreed with that. This would be the book that you always have, the one that you dip into over and over again. And I think she did a great job. So I want to turn it over to you, Angela, because you're the expert on this topic. But as you can tell, I'm enthusiastic, and I hope you are too. So this is a great project. And Angela, over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Terry Lee. And I can't thank you enough. I remember sending that Facebook message to you, and like Jill and David and I were talking about, we've been talking about this cookbook forever, and when you were receptive to the idea, it was like, oh wow, this actually might happen. And then it's been so amazing working with you, and thank you for sharing my vision and our vision for what we wanted. And we did really, when I started talking about this years ago and had people ask me for advice and seeing what I was doing and very curious and not sure where to start, and I found myself answering the same questions kind of over and over again. And the whole idea behind this is to be that little handbook that you can just flip through and get kind of the Coles Notes version of something that has a lot of science behind it, frankly. And it can work very well for many people. And for those people that do want to try it and it does work well, I wanted something that they could have in their hands to help them, and to have it be in plain language, easy recipes, because it can be very overwhelming. Like you say, a lot of the references out there, a lot of the websites and blogs, and it just gets so overwhelming because you think, well, okay, this person has all these rules, and this other person has all these rules, and how do I, navigate all that? So we tried to make it very simple, and with the help of the whole team, Jill and David, who are joining me tonight, are a huge part of that. Cody, who's hopped on as well. My sisters, my partners. There's just so many people that helped with this. So I guess, should I maybe introduce David and Jill next?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so I'll start with Jill. So Jill and I actually go way back as well, longtime family friends. She was good friends with my sisters and went to school together. And so I'll let Jill tell more of her own story, but I helped Jill quite a few years ago now. It was even before any of this was kind of official, or it was still very, very new. And anyway, she just jumped in with both feet and had some really amazing success, and decided to jump in with me to try to help other people. And Jill has a counseling background, so she counseled me a few times and helped me, talk me off the ledge a few times. And I'm just very, very grateful to have her with me tonight. And David Rashed, who many of you know, is a local, well, not even local, national, international celebrity from Haywire days. David and I were next door neighbors for a number of years, and became pretty good friends. And he started noticing when I was walking down the driveway, maybe that something's happening over there. You're losing a little bit of weight, and what are you doing? And the curious questions. And so, yeah, we the three of us have evolved our relationships and talking about this over a period of time. And both of them have been extremely successful. I'm so proud of their success, and also very grateful for their contribution to all this and to help other people. I've met people this week that I didn't know that we've helped, with our group, and a lot of people that don't even post in the group. They just they kind of take the information and go off and do their thing, and you don't even know what impact you're having on people. So that's been quite something to see over the last week in particular. So thank you, David, so much.
I'd love to know, Angela, what was the deciding factor that got you into this, or got you started eating keto, or how did you learn about keto, and just some of your story?
Okay, so I kind of stumbled across it by accident, to be quite honest. I fought my weight my whole life. I always say, I was the youngest lifetime member in 1980, I think, in PEI, 10 years old. So I have a long history of dieting, and boy, when I turned 40, I did not like where I was heading. And my father died young of heart disease, and I just thought I have to do something. And so I started with kind of a prepackaged diet out of desperation, just trying to get this weight off again. I had some success off and on over the years, but again, I was just kind of desperate. This was in 2015. So I started thinking about all the money I was spending. I started thinking about what it was going to be like after. Even if I did lose all this weight, how would I keep it off? What do you do after? And so then I got on Google and I started, searching things out. And when I was searching for low carb issues, and to be honest, I was looking for, is there harm in this? Should I be worried of what I'm doing? And then I just stumbled across LCHF, that's kind of how I started with keto, was LCHF, low carb, high fat, or low carb, healthy fat. And came across some pretty compelling evidence, researchers, clinicians that were using it quite successfully with their clients, and just started learning more about it and started trying it myself. And I was surprised, to be honest. I enjoyed my food again. I was losing weight. Now, it's not a magic bullet by any means. It's not super easy. You have to work at it, and you have to plan and cook your meals. But with a long history of dieting, it was the easiest thing that I had found that was sustainable for me. So that's kind of how I got to thinking that maybe other people would like to learn about this too. And so my first public presentation on LCHF was in 2015 in November, and I purposely picked November because it was Diabetes Awareness Month. And how many people came that night? I think it might have been 15, and had a couple of people sharing their stories, and then the Facebook group started, and online or in-person support group started. And so it was such a gradual thing. It really was. But it just kept me going when people kept coming to me and asking me, to keep the support coming. So
Yeah, and David, so I love that story that Angela told about you being neighbors and you noticing, so what's going on here? How about you? What was kind of the deciding factor for you to start eating keto?
Well, what Angela was talking about when she was in Weight Watchers and Counterweight back in the days, my mom was probably the teacher. So my mother, I mean, we were always, she'd be going out teaching all these courses, Weight Watchers and all this different stuff. And we'd come home and it's like, okay, we're all on a diet. So here's your lettuce and there's a little squeeze of lemon. Okay, we're just going to do this till we friggin' pass out. And that's the end of it. And it's like, that's kind of my idea of a diet growing up, was like starving yourself to death and doing without everything. So, when I bumped into Angela, my whole life was up and down and up and down. It was always get to your desired weight, and then, okay, then you work your way back up. That's kind of the cycle, right? It's just, it's a wave. And I again remember talking to Angela when she was my neighbor, and she was talking about this low carb, high fat eating plan. And I was searching too for a year or two about something, because I knew there must be a better way than being on this roller coaster all the time. There had to be a better way. And so we just have great conversations. We spend hours out there over the fence chatting about stuff, watching our dogs run around. And, it was really a couple of years after that that I started the program in 2017, and really haven't stopped. It's been great. It agrees with me completely. I love it. I don't have to think about it anymore. I can really worry about other things in life other than, I got to lose 10 pounds. Oh, I have the pandemic weight. I got to lose 15 pounds. It's just not an issue. And I'm really grateful for that. Thank you, Angela.
you've done amazing.
How about you, Jill? Why do you continue to be on the keto lifestyle or keto solution?
Well, I think to answer why I continue, I really need to share why I started in the first place.
Yeah.
It was 2017 and I had 3-year-old twins. And my husband and I both really struggled with our weight most of our lives, certainly all of our adult lives, but even longer, even in adolescence. And so we had these 3-year-old twins who were very, very active, and both of us were overweight. And I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I was pretty devastated when I was diagnosed. I just felt like it was a death sentence. I felt like, I was 40 years old, and I just felt like, I'm overweight, now I'm diabetic, and I'm going to have all these other problems like heart disease and whatever else. And it just felt like a death sentence to me. I was really devastated. So right away, I started on medication and the diabetic diet. And I followed that religiously for a month straight. And I wasn't able to get any blood sugar control at all, even though I was taking the medication and following the diabetic diet very, very strictly, not a single cheat. But my blood sugars were just all over the place. And I was out for an evening with Angela's sister, Susan, and I hadn't told anyone besides my husband about my diagnosis. And Susan and I have been friends for so many years, and she asked me how I was doing, and it just all came tumbling out, this diagnosis, and I feel like a failure, and I feel like I'm never going to have control over this, and it just feels like a death sentence. I have these 3-year-olds at home. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And Susan said, well, I'm not sure if you're interested in this at all, but you should talk with my sister Angela about this low carb, healthy fat diet. It's really amazing. Some people have success at reversing diabetes. And I've been around diabetes my whole life because we have a family history. And like, I just like, what do you mean reversing diabetes? What does that even look like? I was shocked to hear those words and I didn't believe it. I was dumbfounded. And she said, no, seriously, some people actually are able to reverse diabetes, not with medication, but with their diet and how they eat and what they put into their bodies. So very quickly, Angela and I met, I think that next week, and I gave myself a week to just get my head wrapped around how I was going to make this major change, which I think is important to give yourself a couple of days to really like research and understand what the diet is and to plan what you're going to do, which is what I did. And so my husband and I just jumped right in, and I was very, very blessed to have a partner who was willing to jump in and do this with me, as committed as I was. And within one meal after this month of eating the diabetic diet and taking medication, the day that I started keto, I stopped my medication with my doctor's approval. And within one meal, my blood sugars were just a straight line. They didn't fluctuate. They didn't go up. They didn't go down. And that's with no medication. It's such a powerful tool for managing and reversing diabetes. So for me, the weight loss was like a happy bonus. But I did go into this with the intention, the hope to reverse diabetes. And I was thrilled to lose weight, of course. But for me, the reason I stay on this way of eating and always will, I feel like for me, I don't have a choice. This is my health. And my health is very important to me. So for me, I have no choice but to eat this way because it's the healthiest, easiest way for me to manage diabetes and to not be looking at medication and high blood sugars. So I've had so much success with this. My doctor has followed me these 3 years. He'll do blood sugar, A1C testing regularly. And he says, you know what, you're not diabetic. You're not even pre-diabetic. So, I know I diagnosed you in 2017, but I'll take that diagnosis off of your chart. You're not diabetic. You're not pre-diabetic. So it's amazing. That doesn't usually happen.
So that's a similar sort of situation to my brother-in-law, because he was not, the weight loss was a happy bonus too, but that wasn't why he went on it, for the epilepsy and, and how that made a difference in helping to control how many seizures he was having and stuff. And, of course, the weight loss, sure, you'll take that for sure, but that really, wasn't the reason why. And it's kind of, an amazing tool to have in your toolbox for many different issues, it sounds like, right? So
I always say it's a very powerful tool and a powerful way of eating. And it has this power to really change your life.
So when you guys started talking about this book, so how did that come to be? I'd love to hear a little background on the book. And did one of you guys put the idea out there, or?
I think I was always tossing around ideas especially with Jill and Dave and the rest of the admin team, because I was always kind of searching for how do you coordinate kind of getting this message out, or how do you make it easy for people? Because that's the thing that I found people that they struggled with, what do I eat? What do I eat? And all these recipes, is there a place I can go and just find them? So we started bouncing around some ideas. We were going to do a calendar at one point, and we did some public presentation thing. We did a session at the Guild, and that was fun. So I was just kind of always searching for kind of that, what should we do? Because we need to do something to make it easy for people. And so it just evolved. I don't think there was really kind of an aha moment. Do you guys think?
I think part of it too was like the demand, like people were saying, Angela, will you help me learn this way of eating? And you were looking for a tool, kind of that like perfect handbook. And you were like, well, I like this chapter from this book, and I like this information from this book. And you were always trying to like pull resources together for people who were coming to you looking for support and guidance and coaching. And it was probably David's brilliance, who said, he usually comes up with the best ideas in our group. He and Cody. I think it was David who was like, write a book, write your own book. You know, if you can't find the perfect book out there, write your own book. And we had all these recipes that weren't really cataloged on the Keto Solution Facebook support group. And it just evolved from there. Like, yeah, that's a great idea. You could have a teaching, coaching section. You could have a recipe section. And then I think your sister Susan like pulled it together with the forward by explaining like, now Angela can be your coach too, by having your own copy of this book. It just evolved in a really organic way.
It did. Yeah.
One thing I tell people all the time, it's like they get overwhelmed, like they're looking for a recipe or an idea of what to eat. And I just, having the cookbook, you're able to say, just pick one thing, make that one thing. That's all you have to do today it's just one thing. So to have that book, a tangible product that you can put in your hand, that sounds good. And just do that. That's it. Just start there. Like people get overwhelmed and they try to chew off the whole lifestyle and everything and, fill my cupboards with all the right tools. It can be overwhelming, and the cookbook makes it really easy. Just start with one item. And I tell my folks this all the time. It's very simple. Just pick one thing, that's all, and make one thing. And this book really makes things a lot easier. You're able to flip through it, and it's like, you don't have to go too far to find something that looks really delicious and interesting, and just make it, and you'll be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about it too. I mean, some of the other resources that are out there, it's all like, this is how you start the keto lifestyle, and you have to eat this first day, and this, it just seems to be like you can only manage that for a few days. Like, I think,
Exactly. And the other thing that I was really happy about with the book too is that I found a lot of people, the only resource we really had was the Facebook group or internet to send people to. And there's some people that really can do well with this, but they're not internet savvy, or they're not, on Facebook. And so some people, you give this as a little gift, this, because that was another thing that people would come to me and sometimes they'll say, well, I'm not on Facebook, or I'm not on. So it was really a little more challenging that way. So now with this, it just makes it so much easier because there is just different sections in it that you can just pick away at and digest, and it's not overwhelming. And that's probably the biggest compliment I've gotten over the last couple of weeks is people sending me messages saying, I'm so happy to have something that I can understand. And that's, real life stuff.
Yeah, I think it's important to say too, like for those of you who are watching who don't have a copy of the book yet, it's not just a recipe book. So the first quarter of the book is really Angela's explanation, teaching, and coaching on what the keto way of eating is, how it works, and kind of like I see Terry Lee is holding the book up. Thank you. Kind of a guide on how to do this, why to do this, how it works. And then maybe 2/3 of it or 3/4 of it is recipes. And if you're not someone who does a lot of cooking and a lot of recipe following, the book is still worth getting for the coaching and teaching section of it. And then you can keep it super, super simple, like each meal choose a meat or a protein, a vegetable, a fat. If you're not someone who does a lot of cooking, that's okay too. Get the book for the teaching aspect of it, and then keep your actual meals extremely simple.
It's true. You can make it as simple or as complicated as you like.
That's right. There's like sample meal plans and stuff in this section. So sample, if you want to plan out your day, you can. Somebody came up in the chat and asked about where you can purchase a copy. It's available through any bookstore. If they don't have it in stock, they can order it in. All the bookstores in Atlantic Canada have copies. It's even in the US. So, if you deal with Amazon or indigo.ca or any of those places, or just ask your local bookstore, and they can get it in, they all deal with us. So it's easy. Or on acornpress.ca is another place, or nimbus.ca.
I have a friend who lives in Australia, and she messaged me yesterday or day before yesterday and said that she found it online and she was able to get it to her house. So that was kind of exciting.
I forgot to get back to you about that. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. And there was somebody in the UK actually looking for it too. It's kind of hard. There is a lot of local stuff to it. We did, because that people were asking about that too. Like, where do you get this stuff, or where do you go shopping, or where do you buy this and buy that? So that was another big part of the handbook as well, for kind of the local part of it.
The thing that I like, just talking about the introduction, it must have been very hard for you, Angela, to summarize your years of learning and education and workshops into a few pages. And, the one thing that I trust the education that you learned. And, you'll hear people talk about a certain way, and you got to question it for yourself. But I know that you've done the research, and I know you've looked into it, and you know what you're talking about, and that brings me comfort too. So I can just put that aside. I know that, I'm not going to do the research that you did. I just have to trust and have faith that, that's going to work, and I can move on to the fun part, the eating,
Yeah, I've heard other people say that too. I don't really care about the science. Just tell me what to eat. Yeah. Tell me what to eat.
Something for everybody there.
Yeah, this has done a really good job, I think, too, of that, like, because in our time, there's so much information out there. And if you Google keto, like, I'm sure there's a bazillion things that are going to come up, but this is like, okay, this is your starting point. What do you guys like most about this eating plan? Jill.
What do I like most? Well, it can be a really decadent way of eating, because you can eat a lot of fat and still be within this keto way of eating. So everything tastes better with butter. Everything tastes better with butter. Everything tastes better with bacon. So I think my favorite thing about this way of eating, because I'm like David and Angela, like, my idea of a diet was lettuce with lemon juice, and always was hangry and just felt really, really deprived. But I never feel deprived on this way of eating. Like, I'm almost 3.5 years in, and I can honestly say I don't feel deprived. I can always have a keto alternative to whatever it is that I'm craving. And it's a decadent, delicious way of eating. I never feel deprived. So that's my favorite thing. I can be on a diet, which really is just a healthy way of eating, and control my weight and control diabetes, but I never feel deprived. It can be quite decadent.
So what I like about this eating style, we keep using the word diet, but it's really not it's not a diet. It's a decision that you make, and that's the end of it. It's all the stuff that I grew up with that I wasn't allowed to eat, and now it's all backwards. I love that. Like, I was in school when the new food guide came out, and I remember plain as day them showing this pyramid, and the little tiny part, the meat on the top, a little bit of fat, and then all the carbs, the grains, all the crap on the bottom. And now it's all flipped upside down. It's like, oh, because that's all the stuff we love. Like, it's a no-brainer. It's like just all the great stuff is now on the top, and all the stuff that you were just filling, like filler stuff, was at the bottom. And it's awesome.
And David, you don't miss the grains and the breads, the grains and cereals, do you?
We just had Thanksgiving dinner a couple of days ago, and I had a full plate of food. I just, I didn't have the potato salad. I didn't have the dressing. I didn't have all the stuff. And then after I ate and after I had my dessert, I had like 3 pieces of dessert. When I was kind of putting stuff away, I was actually eating some more. Like I never get really full, and I never get really hungry. It's crazy. It's really crazy, but you don't have that full feeling.
That's another thing. It's amazing. Like, you're never starving. Whereas on a traditional diet, you're starving all the time. With this way of eating, you're so satiated. The fat really, really, like, it keeps you from getting really hungry. So you never get frustrated. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And I agree. It's just the food selection. It's not like any other way I've lost weight before. So, and Thanksgiving dinner again, I actually even made dressing with my keto rolls, and I had turnip and turkey, and Carolyn made a cranberry sauce with this erythritol stevia sweetener, and really my plate didn't really look that different from everybody else's, and it was amazing. So yeah, you can make it fit, and that's probably the best part, and you can feel like you're satisfied.
And it's also amazing.
You were the one that didn't go lie down after dinner. Is that what you're saying, Angela?
Yeah, exactly. And feeling, I shouldn't have ate so much. Yeah.
I know, and they blame the poor turkey. Poor
That's
turkey.
right, not the turkey.
I love that you were washing the dishes, David. So what about challenges? Like, have you ever found it hard to follow and stay on the plan, or?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I've never really found it hard to stay on it. I think the biggest challenge that I've had is more social situations, because so much of our social life revolves around food. And when you're at work, and now everybody's working, or a lot of people are working at home, but at work there was always a celebration for something. There was a cake, or there was donuts, or so those kind of things. You could feel a little bit of pressure there sometimes, and you didn't want to be kind of the weird one that wasn't having anything. So it was more the social part that I found a little bit tough to me.
I think the other thing that is really awesome about your approach is a community piece. Like, that really seems to have set you guys up for success, and that has grown because of your passion. And I don't know, like, can you imagine doing this without that community?
I think that would be very challenging. Yeah.
And that this book, again, it kind of pulls you in because it's got that personal stories and the way it places to.
It does. We had a big potluck a couple of years ago, I guess now. We rented a hall and we had a big potluck, and everybody there was so much food, but there was a lot of people there, and they said, I can eat everything here. Like, we can just have everything. And it was such a delicious meal. So yeah, the sense of community and people supporting each other. I think that was my goal, basically, with putting the group together, was so that people would feel supported and be able to ask questions and help each other along the way, because a lot of us have needed help and some pep talks.
I remember being at the superstore a couple of times, and just getting a couple groceries and stuff, and somebody stops me and goes, "You're the guy from the keto site." And then we stop and have like a 20-minute conversation about this food, that food, this and this and this. So community is powerful for this, because not only is it online, they see you out, they see you actually doing it, so they can ask you in person. It's quite something.
I've had somebody come up to me in a restaurant and kind of poke their head over and I'm just curious what you're eating.
Only PEI.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But the other thing that's really great about this is like, these are keto recipes, but like, who doesn't want to eat a tuna melt or a tuna muffin or something? Like, I mean, anybody, I mean, they're just yummy, yummy recipes, right? So like,
Exactly. It's not like,
you don't have to be on the keto to enjoy these recipes.
absolutely not.
That is true. And you wouldn't believe how many times we've taken like a keto dish to a potluck, like at work or family, and everyone's like, this is delicious. This is really good. Who made this? Surprise. People tend, it's very, very delicious food.
And it doesn't have to be hard either.
No.
So
I
what-
think
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, you had asked earlier about challenges, and I wanted to say I've talked to many, like dozens of people the last 3 years who have attempted this way of eating, and I can tell you that I think the biggest challenge people face is when they decide to go off keto for a while and then go back on. I recommend to people to make this decision to kind of like do this and stick with it. If you go on and off, I find people, from what they tell me, like their cravings are a lot worse. It's just much harder to get back in the groove. And I think it's because once you get sugar and starch out of your system, your body doesn't crave it anymore. The reason that you crave it is because it's in your system and your system is asking for more sugar. Once you eliminate the sugar, you really don't crave it. But then if you're, oh, well, I'm at this potluck, I'll just have a piece of whatever the pie is, a coconut cream pie, because there's nothing else here, then you kind of start that awful cycle again, and you've got to get it out of your system again. So my advice would be, if you're going to do it, do it. I personally find it more easy to sustain if I just stay away from any cheat days or cheat meals. That's what works for me. And if you're struggling, try to stay away from any cheating, because once you get sugar in your system again, you're going to crave it. But as long as you keep it out of your system, you're pretty well craving free.
No, I totally agree. And one thing I tell people too is you don't kind of do keto. You don't try to do it. I'll do a little bit of keto, because what you're doing is you're adding fats and proteins to a high carb, high sugar diet. It's a free for all, and you can't do that. So you have to make a decision. I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, like Jill said. And it's really one or the other. You got to decide what you want to do. So if the other one's not working for you, then try the keto lifestyle and see if that works. But you got to give it an honest chance, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And, don't look at the scale, look at how you feel, look at how how everything's going, the food you're preparing, and just give yourself some time, because sometimes you jump on the scale and you get disappointed, and then, you find a bag of chips or whatever you want, and everything's out the window, right? So you got to decide, you got to make a decision to do this way or that way.
That's actually a really good point, David. Like the non-weight loss benefits of keto, for me, and maybe others can share what your favorite benefit is. My favorite benefit is better energy. Like as soon as my body became fat adapted, my energy level just like shot right up, and it's never really come down. Like I used to be so sluggish when I was eating carbs. As soon as I became fat adapted, I just had so much more energy, and my mental health, my physical health, my energy, it's hard to even compare to the old way.
It's true. That constant energy is a big bonus too.
That's awesome. And super inspiring, guys. Does anyone have any questions from the audience, or do you guys want to add anything or share anything else?
There might be some audience members who want to share their personal stories as well.
Everybody's shy.
Looks like
Everybody-
Well, why would we-
Tammy's connecting here. It looks like somebody.
You can also type it in the chat box at the bottom. Oh, from Cody. Angela, how did it feel to finally hold the book in your hands?
Oh my gosh. I think I posted online as soon as it was in my hands. It was overwhelming. It was surreal. After the project lasting so long and thinking about it for so long, I really did feel like it was a huge weight lifted off, really. And it was pretty exciting. And I was so grateful to Acorn Press for taking it on. Pretty amazing.
It was a long project, you know, it did take longer, quite a bit longer than we thought
It
that
did.
it would, but
It did. I was
these things
that was partly
sometimes
me
do, but
too.
may worth the wait.
trying to. It was. I'm not a writer. I'm not a natural writer, so I needed some hand holding and coaching for sure. And yeah, I had a lot of people helping me, so I'm very grateful.
You also
Cody-
wanted,
Go
I
ahead.
just said, Cody says, a full circle moment. You should be so proud.
And Cody's been with me since the beginning too. He actually helped me put the website together, so
Oh, that's great.
he's been with me from the beginning. Yeah, I appreciate it so much.
What are you
Just
going to
a
say,
big
Jill?
Shout out to Amber Jackson was huge in putting a lot of the stuff together too. So
Yeah.
big shout out to Amber, because every time she posts something, I go and I start cooking because I know it's going to be friggin' awesome.
Amber deserves a big shout out. Yeah, for sure.
a lot of her recipes are in the book, and she not only tests her recipes, but every single one of them are delicious. And there's a holiday section in the book too, which is really nice with
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. Yeah.
Thanksgiving just behind us and Christmas coming up. Like, we've kind of all developed our favorite things, like the stuffing that Angela referred to is in the holiday section. I think there's like really good alternatives. It is a real key is to have a keto alternative when you're going somewhere. I've taken my own food into restaurants, to potlucks, to family dinners, to staff meetings. Like, people are just used to that with me now. But anyway, the holiday section, like, there's cranberry sauce, there's stuffing, there's whipped potatoes, like anything that you could want. And so many desserts. The desserts are delicious.
Yeah, I posted
Yeah,
the
the desserts
peanut
are
butter
certainly a help.
bombs on our
I saw that.
Instagram today. I was
Oh,
like,
they're really good.
I was like, I think I need to stop and take a break and make these.
And
Well,
I
if
just
we weren't-
also wanted to make a comment too on the community part of it. The other fun thing is member of the community is Kenny Vale, who did the design work.
Yeah.
He also went to school with Angela and me, and you know, it was kind of fun, all three of us working on pulling it together.
That was a lot of fun. And Kenny actually designed my logo back in 2016. I remember I messaged him and I said, can we talk about some project I'm working on? And so he's another one that's been with me since the very beginning too.
There's a message in the okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
Mary is wondering, is bulk foods the best source for almond flour, etc., for supplies?
The Bulk Barn is definitely my go-to, especially for almond flour. Then and Price Mart as well. That has the Kirkland, the big bag from Costco. Those are kind of my two sources for almond flour. Pretty pricey in the grocery store.
I like to order from Costco. If you have a membership or you know someone who does, you can order like their almond flour, their coconut flour. But our local grocery stores are becoming so keto friendly. Like, Sobeys has the Krista chocolate chips right in their chocolate chip aisle. You don't even have to go to the natural section
Oh,
anymore.
awesome.
It's right there with the Chippets. And they've got lots of sweeteners, although I do find Bulk Barn is my favorite. I get the erythritol stevia mix or the monk fruit stevia mix at Bulk Barn.
Me too. And I like your suggestion, Jill, was pulsing it in the bullet to make it finer, because a lot of recipes you can get that grit with that sweetener, and if you pulse it and make it nice and fine, it's better.
Yeah, one of my tips is like some recipes you really need the Swerve confectioner's sweetener, like the cranberry sauce or it will crystallize. So I keep a bag of Swerve confectioners, like the icing sugar, which is, I think it's stevia and erythritol, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I keep that just for the recipes that really, really need that. And then the ones that I know, like cookies or cheesecakes or whatever, I just take the bulk barn sweetener and I put it in my Cuisinart or Bullet, whatever you have. And so I kind of run both of those powdered sugars and sweeteners.
Mary's also wondering, do your partner's kids eat keto as well?
Mine does. Yeah. I just cook keto. Now, she might have a little extras that when she's out and about, but it's really only keto meals here for the most part.
Well, my family's kind of, we have 2 vegetarians, 1 keto, 1 high carb. We're all over the place. It's very interesting, but anything that I make that is keto, it will go, everybody will eat it. They might try other things, but the keto things, pretty much everybody in the family is very aware of the flour and the sugar content in food. So it's really rubbed off that way. They're very aware of what they eat. It's just whether it's more keto or they still have a few carbs, but they're still aware of the sugar and the flour content. Yeah.
And for me, my husband and I both eat 100% keto. And I admit it is easier when your partner eats the same way you do. It's more challenging if you don't have that, but it's doable. You just make sure that you have options that you can eat that are keto. And my twins are turning 7, and we're in the process of switching them over to 100% keto. I would say that they're, at least 80% of their meals are low carb. And it's just that last 20% that we're trying to get whether it be like a yogurt tube or a bowl of cereal or something quick and easy. We're really just trying to eat through the carbs that are still in the house, just for the sake of not wanting to waste. And anyway, I think like if you're in David's situation and you've got everyone eating all kinds of different things, you can make it work. You can also make it work if everyone in the household is eating keto. It's really kind of like up to you and your decision and commitment to yourself and your own health. And then making sure that you have options that are available to you.
Those are great questions, Mary. Anyone else thinking about a question? If you're thinking about a question, it might be something that somebody else is thinking of.
Well, I think that could be extra challenging for kids. I remember hearing a story about a mother who had sent this beautiful like roast beef lunch for her kids to school, and the teachers freaked out and sent a note home and made the kids eat Ritz crackers or something because they didn't, they weren't getting a well-rounded meal. And I mean, is there that kind of challenge with the kids, Jill? Like, is that something?
Yep, I've had notes home from the teacher this year, so we were pretty committed to sending the girls to have low carb lunches, suppers, and snacks, and then breakfast is the last meal we're kind of working on. And I've had notes home from their teacher and the principal saying I need to send more food, and I need to send more high energy foods, I think is what they're calling it. And, it becomes an opportunity to educate people and explain. I personally believe that this is our family's choice and decision to eat this way. And it's just like if you're choosing to be a vegetarian or any other way of eating, like that's our right to eat this way, and for me as a parent to have my children eat that way. So and I think when it comes to parenting, it's important to not say you're eating this way because that's how we eat, but to really educate your kids, like sugar in large quantities is not healthy. It's not good for you. And to help them understand when they do eat sugar and they come to you later and say, I have such a bellyache, to explain you have a bellyache, honey, because you had too much sugar. and they naturally right themselves. At least that's what I found. You know, I've caught one of my daughters especially saying, no, I think I'm just going to have that much. I don't want to have a bellyache later. And also I would say, I had some good advice from a good doctor who told me when it comes to children and transitioning them from a high carb to a low carb diet, just to start with one meal at a time. And that's what we've done. It's taken us 1.5 years to get here, but they're only 6. And I feel like if we continue on this path with them, they're not going to have the weight and health problems I've had. So we started with suppers because we always ate supper together. So we started with the main meal, and then we went to lunch, and then we went to snacks, and now we're just working on breakfast. So that worked for us, one meal at a time.
And when we think about, you know, this whole thing with kids is, it's very, I find it very stressful, but when we think back to what kids ate in the 60s and 70s, you know, it wasn't until, you know, the late 70s into the 80s that we kind of get into this craziness. And we all know what happened with the diabetes and, you know, these epidemics that we're dealing with now. So,
Well, yeah,
and I know there's a lot of type 1 diabetic parents that are getting flack too when they're trying to lower the carb count. And it's hard right now.
But you're so right, Angela. When we, you know, we had like, we got a little bowl of chips on Friday night, you know,
Right.
that was like, you know,
That was a treat.
a treat. And we watched, I don't know, Dukes of Hazzard or something, and eat a little bowl of chips, have a little tiny cup of pop. I mean, this is not the way they grow up anymore, right? So,
And we weren't sent to school with snacks. Like, I don't remember being sent to school with snacks.
you know, we had got an apple at recess.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I find very, I shared a picture on the Facebook side about just how inexpensive the crappiest food is. And I've been, you know, I was talking to somebody today about eating. I said, if it's really cheap, it's not good for you. If it costs you next to nothing, it's probably not good for you. And that's a shame. There's just so many boxes, like aisle after aisle after aisle. It's just garbage. It's just sugar and high carb. That's all it is. And it'll last forever, and it's all not good for you. And it's a shame. You know, we're talking earlier about going to a restaurant. Your choices are pretty much made before you even go inside. You know, you're going to get, you know, your chicken breast and your Caesar, your couple things. You just do that. And you know that there's no sense looking over this giant menu because you know what you're going to get in the end. So it makes it a lot easier. You don't have to look through 50 items and then, oh my gosh, that looks delicious and this and this and this. It's like, okay, I'm just going to get that and move on. I don't need to entertain everything that's on this menu that I can't eat.
Very true.
From Mary, thanks. Ordered the book for pickup tomorrow. Yay. How does your 21-day menu start the program work? Do you know?
Oh
Angela?
dear. It's not really a 21-day menu. On the website, there's a 21-day kind of metabolism reset, and it's just a little, it's a lot of things that are in the book. Actually, there's recipes and there's some tips and tricks and resources, but it doesn't really give you specific things to eat. I've never really done that. People, like I offer food lists and help, you know, people to understand where the carbs are and how to make, you know, lower carb choices. But for the most part, people kind of put their own. Yeah, there's a sample kind of one day what I would eat in a day generally in the book. But I don't do like a whole 21-day meal plan because I just find that really hard because everybody eats differently. But once you kind of get your head around what your carb count is going to look like or what are the lower carb choices, then you start putting together your meals with things that you like.
And it's really well done and laid out in here, I thought.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who helped.
One thing that I find that works really easy too, Angela, is kind of making a list of the foods that you're not going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes everything else easier. Like once you know if few items to stay away from. And it's just, like you said, it's, the protein, you have a selection of, so many different ones. So you can make those choices. And it's basically, once you get your head around what a keto meal looks like, then you're off to the races.
That's right. And that's a very good point. It's a lot more about what you don't eat than what you do eat. Yeah.
And it can be really intimidating before you start this way of eating. You think, I can't get onto that. It's too much to learn. It really isn't. If you buy the book and you read the first part, which is the teaching section, and when you get your head around it, it's a very easy way to eat. If you eat from the food lists, what you're allowed to eat, then it's really just choosing. You don't even have to count carbs if you don't want to. You can say, okay, I know every meal I'm going to have a meat or a protein source and a fat and a vegetable. Then that way of looking at it, if you don't want to count carbs, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. It can be a very flexible way of eating as long as you're sticking to the food list that you can eat from.
Very true. Very true. Well, I heard one quote that calories matter, or grams matter, but you don't have to count them all the time. You just have to pay attention to what you're putting together.
Is it more important in the beginning though? For the first few, like she said, for the first few weeks to keep that,
The people that
get
I
into ketosis, or
the people that I've worked with, I do like them to count and to track in the beginning, because those carbs creep in, you don't even really realize it. So when you do really look on, in black and white, what 20 or 30 or 50 grams of carbs looks like, it makes it a lot easier to carry on after that, because then it gets less confusing. But yeah, tracking and counting in the beginning is helpful.
is it good to have, I was reading online, just one of those stories about somebody trying to lose weight, and they did sort of like an opposite goal. Like if they didn't follow their regime, then they were going to have to make a $500 donation to Trump's campaign or something like that. And they were like very anti-Trump. Like, is it good to have kind of goals or anti-goals like that, or something like that can really work for you mentally? Or
I highly recommend that. Something away from the scale. So there's one lady I'm working with, and she just said, I just want this one pair of jeans to button. I said, that's an excellent goal. Like, it doesn't matter what the number on the scale is. If you can get into those jeans that you want to get into, that's a huge accomplishment. Or I just want the pain in my knee to get better. Or I want to be able to have energy to go and do stuff with my kids and my grandkids. Those are kind of goals that's what this is all about. It's about feeling good and having energy and having a better quality of life, for sure.
Awesome. I think, is there anything else you guys would like to add? I think we'll probably start to wrap things up.
Well, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that participated tonight and helped to make this happen. It's amazing. Thank you.
I want to say ditto that too. That's it's not an easy job to pull something like this together, Angela, and I know you had great help, and I think it can only build from there. So thank you so much to everybody who worked with you, and your sister we didn't mention her too much, but there was a lot of people involved. So thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me, Angela, to be a part of this, and for all of your support. It means the world to me.
Oh my gosh, Jill. Thank you. Thank you for everything. You've been such an inspiration to so many people, and David as well.
We still come over for free dinner at your place? Did you mention that?
Look, you're welcome
Okay.
anytime.
Okay.
Just because you're not next door anymore.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Anyway, this, I was telling Angela at the beginning of this here, it's her, she truly cares about people and their health. And this cookbook is just an extension of that too. It's a way for her to, I know she's emailed recipes upon recipes over the years to different people, probably the same thing over and over again. And you know what, here's an opportunity to get these recipes, get this this idea, just a summary of this lifestyle. And I'm just glad that you got a chance to put this out, and it's going to help a lot of people, and that's what you're really good at, Angela.
That was
So
the goal. That's the goal.
thank-
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Congratulations, Angela.
Thank
And
you. Thank you, everyone.
thanks again. We'll end it there.